So the leadership, Cathryn was talking earlier about how things are much more spread out, and that everybody has a sense of themselves wearing multiple hats, many hats. So this is co-sponsored by a group of people who I think aspire to be leaders in the arts. Does the leadership then come from this room to make that happen? I mean, are we looking at politicians? Where are we looking for this leadership?
No, I think the leadership has to come from this room and from arts organizations, and our job is to educate and partner and be accessible. But there's one thing that I have to say that artists are asked to do a great deal in our culture, and artists get very little payback in terms of monetary compensation for what they do. I think about all of the auctions in this city that are supported by artists donating work. We are all asked multiple times during the year to donate work for auctions. And now we want artists to solve our economic problems. We want artists to solve our education problems. And I just get a little bit of a chip on my shoulder about constantly looking to artists to solve our cultural problems, but never supporting them enough to do that in a way that gives them a livable wage.
Yay. So,
must be a few artists out there.
So here are some audience questions, and you guys should all feel free to jump in and answer them. What about schools? Isn't funding arts education in public schools a great starting place?
Yes, absolutely. Unequivocally.
Go to your local school board meetings, lobby your school board.
How can I get involved with innovative projects like yours? I guess that's a collective yours. How do people get involved in any of
courage to pick up the phone and call. If you see a project you're interested in, like I'd really, like Cathryn said, just picking up the phone and trying to get a meeting with the people that are doing things you care about, I think.
Dedicate yourself to meetings now.
It's our new mantra.
It's true. At our museum, we create all of our exhibitions with community members, and if somebody wants to come and say, I want to be a part, we'll be like, we're having a meeting, come. And it really is just amazing how excited we would get to know that there are people who want to be a part of it, and that helps energize us.
But there's no, I mean, there's not, you know, the Craigslist of opportunities, are there?
I bet anyone on the stage would give anyone in the room their cell number and email if there was something you wanted to do. This is not an exclusive club. There's just not enough hours in the day to tell everybody everything that you want to do.
Okay, so whoever wrote this yellow thing, pick the one you want to get involved in.
Shouldn't volunteer everyone's.
What collaborative partners do you wish you had that you haven't found yet in Seattle?
I wish that Artspace as an organization had more support from the corporate sector. We have had great support from government and support from individuals and support from foundations, but we have not had a lot of support from the corporate folks.
I wish that when artists were asked to form a firing line, they wouldn't get in the circle, because we're so quick to cannibalize each other a lot of the time. Not everyone, and I don't, you know, I'm trying to stay on the positive, like Al said, but I think that I've experienced so many people taking each other down when we're trying to figure out what we're going to build, and yeah, so thinking about ways that we can co-create.
Partners?
I mean, it's an open book. I mean, the Greater Seattle Chamber really sets a lot of policy for what happens in Seattle, so I really would like to get an understanding, you know, to be able to educate and really have some dialogue towards positive action around, do we all get to live in the great city? Do we all get to live here? Or are some communities going to be displaced and kind of just discarded and left to kind of decay, you know? So the chamber, which then influences the political establishment, I think is a great place to start.
Cassie and Sara, any partners?
Our culture is, founded on partnerships, that we have so many partners, and I think that it's great. It's what our agency thrives on, and is. It's always good to have political partners, legislative partners in King County government and Washington State legislative, but we have some great partners. So it's not. I think it's just about building time in the day to engage with all the people that you want to engage with. I think possibilities are endless.
Yeah, everybody up here.
Everybody.
For us, we have to think hard, who do we choose to partner with? A lot of people want to come and partner with the museum. A lot of larger institutions want to partner with us because we help diversify their audiences. And so when I think about partnerships, I think about it is a one-to-one relationship. What are you giving and what are you receiving? And so we've chosen to partner with smaller cultural organizations where we can bring resources to them to help them. So when I think about partners, I think about newer communities that have moved into the city who really need those cultural organizations that help them to grow and to continue to be as a community. And so those are the kind of partners I'd be very excited about. We just started working with the Burmese Refugee Coalition, who Seattle is a highly concentrated place for new refugees coming from Burma. They're just starting. How can we nurture those communities? Other new immigrants and refugees who are coming here need places and need organizations to help them.
How does transportation affect the involvement of underserved communities?
I think we're sitting here in the supposed transportation hub of the city, but for our neighborhood, transportation has negatively impacted our neighborhood. You just look at I-5 cutting straight through. And then you have the transportation hub portals, but there's not enough design planning to think, how are you drawing people off of the line to then support to the neighborhood? How are you connecting them to our communities instead of just making it a pass-through? And I think that's something that hasn't been done well in our neighborhood. And so transportation is important for access for our communities, but transportation also has not fully realized its potential in our neighborhoods.
I think when we talk about reducing the carbon footprint by getting people out of cars, people will stay in their neighborhoods more if the things that they, high quality experiences that are relevant to them exist in their neighborhoods. People will walk, people will bike, and then, the whole public transportation thing, it's kind of hard to do that from certain areas, and access is everything.
Oh. No, I was just going to say, we're challenged with doing a project on a light rail station site, and we will be building no parking to be with 50 units of housing and full floor of retail.
Wow.
So, and I have no problem with that. I think my concern is the businesses being able to survive in the interim period before there is maximum ridership. But residential, I'm sorry folks, but a lot of people now, a car is a luxury. It's not a given anymore in our city. So we're focusing on bicycles and pedestrian and light rail.
And there's just a last question, and it's the biggest one, I suppose. How can artists revitalize a community responsibly?
The same way teachers revitalize responsibly, the same way everybody else revitalizes responsibly. It's engage. It's know your neighborhood. When I was working in my studio, minding my own business, feeling very self-righteous because I listened to NPR and watched McNeil Lehrer every night and read the New York Times, and then I got involved in the neighborhood planning process, and suddenly what was interesting to me was what was going on in my block. What was on the front page of the local section? What was the new developer coming in and what were they going to do? What was going to happen with the viaduct? What was going to happen with the schools? What was going to happen? And I realized that we don't engage And artists are not at the table. We are in our studios often alone, worrying about the next exhibition or whether we're going to be able to pay the rent. But when we went and started getting active and started going to council meetings, and I would send out, I will never forget the county council meeting when we were trying to get the Tashiro Kaplan building, and I sent out an email, and you know artists, you send out an email to 10 artists and it goes to another 50 and another 100 and another 1,000, and said there's going to be a public hearing about this building. If you feel like you could come and show up, it would be great. And the house was packed. There was standing room only, and we had a unanimous vote, and we had council members saying they had never seen so many people at a meeting before, and it was a huge education for me that it really makes a difference to get engaged. It won't happen if you're not there asking for it, because too many other people have their agendas as well. So you really have to engage politically.
Last word? Do you have a last word?
I just say with respect, you know, you have to have an awareness of if you're joining a community, I mean, you're joining a community, and there should be some appreciation and some, you know, relationship building and respect for the things that were there before you came and things that may be happening, and see how you can add to the community and not necessarily just create a new community in isolation from that community. I think that's important.
Thanks, all of you, very much for your thoughts tonight. Your turn.
I think I can just project my voice and just express my excitement and inspiration at this group of people that has poured a lot of love into their individual communities in the greater city of Seattle. Can we just give one more round of applause?